This is Wazoo from Defense of the Patients, a Dota 2 podcast. We'd like to thank you all for listening and hope you're enjoying the content we're providing. If you are, please remember to tell a friend. Swing by iTunes to give us a funny or positive review. We'll read the best on the show. You can also find us on Twitter at .p_show or defenseofthepatients.com. We release new content every Monday and Thursday. Hope you guys join along. Thanks.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Defense of the Patients, a Dota 2 podcast. I'm your host Cyphus, sitting here with co-host Wazoo.
How's it going?
And co-host Roland.
Hey guys.
And today we've got a special guest calling in, Brian Peddie, better known online as Phage, Twitter at that Phage guy. He's going to talk a little bit with us about stats and his new stat house, Standard Deviants, or a stat house he's associated with. I guess let's kick it off with State of Affairs. I logged on finally and took a look at that solo MMR. It wasn't just one game, it was 3. So I hammered out 2 of those, and the last
Why
one,
not 3?
Well, because we were on a time constraint for the recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had to get everything else set up.
I'd hammer out the last one while you guys are doing a party MMR.
No.
Hey, I just had a beautiful run as Crystal Maiden. One for the record books. And since it's only right on the air, you were right. I'm sorry. I looked into it.
Right about what?
Crystal Maiden doesn't get pulled out by the right-click damage. Here's what was happening.
No.
So today,
Hey, don't throw gas upon.
It takes a big
wound.
man to admit when he's wrong, and I'm trying to be that big man.
It takes a big man.
It does.
So what I did was I thought what was going through my mind, because it's all off of my observation.
Right.
Totally. So I downloaded the 2 replays of the most recent games that we had played right before we went in. Both of the games were the sniper, and I was getting hit by that right-click mini-stun, and that's what it felt like.
Boom.
Yep, and so
There you
you're
go,
right.
mystery
So you're
solved.
right, yeah.
I don't know.
Solo, at party, I went down to
I didn't mean
1285.
to seem salty.
Yeah, it's bad. Well, I've only
I
been
didn't hear
playing
you.
with
What?
you guys.
What's your party?
1285.
Oh,
That's very bad.
Yeah, well,
But that's okay, man. You know?
if I'm swinging down, you guys are swinging down too.
I'm swinging up. But go ahead, Wazoo.
Well, my state of affairs is... I actually haven't been able to play any on my MMR. So I'm still at 2100 roughly party.
Why was that?
I RQ'd, as they call it.
What does RQ mean?
Rancidly quit a game. Similar circumstances, I was Faceless Void. This time there's no lag at all. I just kept feeding, and I just kept getting more angry, so I left. And Valve slapped me with a ban. And I went into that, I was like, going in, like, I was maybe like Edward Norton in that one movie where he shaves his head and plays the prisoner, and I was like, fuck it, man. Like, I had a bad attitude. But when I came out, I was like Morgan Freeman in Shawshank Redemption. And I was just like, all right, you know? And I feel like it rebooted my Dota personality. I'm not so fucking salty now, because I was getting salty, like, fucking feeding every game. And it was just like, I was becoming like the old guy that yells at kids to get off of his Dota lawn, more or less. No one wants to come over to that guy's house.
Yeah, sure.
Except his family, which is what we basically are to you. So.
Trying to put me in a home, and you're like, you need to go do a bunch of low prio, Grandpa.
I'd have done the low prio with you.
You served your sentence alone, too, so good on you.
What it did, importantly, is it gave me... I knew it wasn't going to affect my MMR, so I just played a bunch of different heroes I've been meaning to try. And then when people were getting salty with me, I just muted them and just kept playing and learned some new heroes. In that meantime. So now I have some new stuff to bring into the game, and I feel like it's kind of revitalized my mindset.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're saying you were playing Lycan in the last one?
Yeah, I was playing some Lycan, like playing a jungle hero, because I feel like it was like appropriate for the solo type mentality in low prio. And
Lone Wolf.
Well, yeah. I mean, everyone kind of plays for themselves. But yeah, my MMR hasn't changed. My mindset has. I've rebooted it after that last cast. You know, just kind of like separating myself and like realizing that I'm playing the game for fun, not to take it so seriously. So that's my
Well, we can still take it seriously, and I do. Every game
serious in the wrong ways.
Yes.
Like by like meticulously glaring over mistakes is where I get with things naturally as a person. Like, I'm a detail oriented person, so when I see details start to get messed up like in sequence and I'm telling someone about it, like I come off gruffer than I mean to, and then it just kind of snowballs. And I got to get that under control, and I gotta I don't know. I guess I just gotta not take that part so seriously and realize I'm in control of 20%. That's it. You know what I mean?
You went into the low prio with a high school diploma in Lycan and came out with a bachelor's. So that's good, right?
Dude, I'm not even a Lycan high school dropout.
Did you at least get your generals out of the way?
Kind of, I guess. If like raping people with invisible wolves are your generals.
Okay. Yeah.
That is cool. Okay, I'm Roland. My state of affairs is up, trending up, trending up. Like if I was like a stock exchange, like you would want to invest in me now, okay?
Yeah. And like 6 months from now,
Yeah, it's gonna tank. But
Black Friday.
Yeah, Black Friday. I'm getting close to 1400 on
Black Tuesday.
solo. Yeah, Black Tuesday. I'm getting close to 1400 on my solo MMR, and I think I hit 1500 on party. I've been playing with Wazoo and 3Flow mostly on the party.
Except for the last little bit, though.
Except for the last little bit, we played some with Cyphus, but I mean, we're all super busy with school, but we're going to keep this up. This is fun. School and Dota and our lives.
I am at least able to get 2 games in a day.
Yeah.
At least.
And I played Enigma today for the first time. Well, not for the first time.
Definitely a hero that's right up your alley, just given your past heroes.
Not for the first time, but for the first time since I've learned anything about Dota. So I actually like read the skills, alt hovered over the skills, learned what they did, bought an Aghanims because Aghanim's really cool with him. It basically incorporates 2 of his skills into his ult. Anyway, yeah, I've been having a blast with Dota lately. It's been a lot of fun. More fun than I anticipated Dota to be even a week ago.
Yeah.
So that is my state of affairs.
All right.
I'm happy with Dota. My Dota life is good. And, yeah.
Can I talk about something here?
Sure. Bring it on up.
The inner zen is really hard to, like, once you think you've got it, it's like as swift as a butterfly, swift as the wolves of Ishrak slipping through your fingers. You know? Like, I wish I could encapsulate what I feel about the game now. It's just like a willingness to play and not necessarily win, but just to do good in my own game. I think, like, you get out of the good mindset when you start, like, thinking about other people's play.
What are the Wolves of Ishrak, by the way? I do not understand this reference. It's now been made twice.
Well,
Ice Rack is apparently where Crystal... Well, you see, this is why we should guess a hero background.
It's been a while since we've had a Guess a Hero background.
Crystal Maiden, we could do that.
We could do some Crystal Maiden. If
She's
you heard us
so
last
good-looking.
cast, I noticed we said CM a lot. So if you heard that and didn't understand, CM is...
I think we referenced Crystal Maiden enough. Everybody knew what we were talking about.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Was there some extensive... Oh,
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Yeah.
But anyway, Ishrak is where maybe Crystal Maiden's from.
I think she was like held there
But she has
as
a line
prisoner.
where she says, "Swift as the wolves of Ishrak." And then Lycan actually has some wolf dudes that replaces wolves that are wolves of Ishrak.
Oh, and you said you bought these
they're
aesthetics,
dope.
right?
They're dope. They were like 11 cents.
Oh, nice. Because you're using the marketplace. So these guys disagree with me. In supporting Valve, I buy, and it's still supporting Valve buying off the marketplace.
Yeah.
But I spend the extra money to buy sets directly from Steam or Valve or from their Dota2.com.
Valve doesn't care.
And I know it's $3.99 a set, opposed to I could get the full set for maybe 46 cents if I went to the marketplace.
Less, probably.
So I guess I'm not supporting the community though. I'm more supporting.
I mean,
I'm still adding items to the community bank.
However you want to pay more money, you should do that. I guess.
Here's how I understand
So
that
more
community basically works. They release those new sets periodically.
In chests that you can unlock by paying with a treasure key for $3.
Oh yeah.
So they're already getting their cut there when the item comes into the game.
But that's like gambling. You know what I mean?
But that's where your item came in, or at the end of a game.
I don't buy keys
which is whatever.
because I'm scared I might have a problem.
I mean,
I used to.
they're buying those items and they're slowly filtering in, and they'll
stop.
still drop while you're
Sure.
playing. So slowly it's filtering into the community. They're making their chunk of change off of
And we talked
it
about
just
this.
getting in.
If anybody knows, I don't know. We debated about this and we saw that there were job postings, but apparently Steam hires economists.
Valve.
Yeah, Valve.
Or Valve, Steam. Sorry, I look at them as though they're synonymous, although they're not.
Well, they are. But
But it's really cool to see that they're hiring psychologists, which is Cyphus's field, and economists and all that, and it's really cool that they want to go so in depth. They don't want their marketplace to crash.
Yeah, I mean you'd have to. I mean we've discussed that before. You'd have to. Well, and just in a lot of RPGs, I mean we were you and I briefly had a stint playing Neverwinter from Perfect World.
Neverwinter Online.
Yeah.
I still love Neverwinter 1
Nights.
and
Neverwinter
Nights.
Nights. Yeah.
1
Can I
and
tell you
2.
the biggest difference, I think, with Valve? Is that they view the people that play their game as content creators opposed to people to sell
adding.
content to. So look at just like any other like big game that's not a Valve game. Like they want to release those map packs and whatnot to you at a charge. Valve just wants people to just create it. They just want people to create it themselves, and then they'll put it up and monetize it.
Arguably, Neverwinter was trying to follow that model. I mean, it just didn't. Not to insult anybody who enjoys that game, like it just wasn't for you and me.
We put like a ton of hours into it.
Too little D&D, man.
But too little D&D and too much MMO. But that's just me. But their economy collapsed.
Yeah, we were online while their economy collapsed. They had to kill the servers for like 16 hours.
The in-game economy, which was it was crazy. They had to set the game back 12 hours. Everybody's items and experience and everything that they accrued over that 12 hours was erased, and it was because somebody found a way to basically pump the market up and drive it up, and then it crashed. And this is a video game marketplace, a video game economy that was crashing. And
they devalued. They took items that were selling for, millions of whatever the in-game currency was, diamonds, I think.
Astral diamonds.
Yeah. And they were worth millions, and then literally within hours they were just worthless. Yeah, you could pick them up for 100 astrals, and everybody had that kind of money.
Yeah, everybody, even us. And it was really cool to experience that. I thought, when that happened, which was probably more than a year ago now. We were like, wow, I cannot, we weren't even mad about the time being set
it was
back.
just interesting to even contemplate a digital economy.
Yeah, especially with a math background. I wonder what they did wrong. I wonder how it happened. I wonder how they could fix it. So Phage should be calling in a couple minutes. We're really excited to have him. And that was Brian Peddie.
Yeah, I have no understanding when it comes to stats or what. I mean, I get that they're collecting stats as far as how quickly pros are getting to certain items and and you were saying, I guess, really you could at that point start comparing win rates if you grabbed an item before a certain mark.
Sure. We were given some website to go check out for stats, Dota stats specifically. I guess we can ask Brian when he comes on the show what website that is, but it is so comprehensive. You can say bristleback at level 20 with this. What items does he most often have?
This is all stuff extensive. That is being cataloged, and
whoever's doing it, that's awesome.
As a situational game, it's interesting to know what bristlebacks have died at 15 minutes in when they bought this item, opposed to those that haven't, that have bought this item. That's interesting to know, regardless. Just to look at the stats and be like, well, you're more successful in this build going this statistically, even though this is maybe the meta right now, Yeah.
Or even if an item's a really big item for that particular character or that particular hero, being able to figure out where you're at in comparison to other players. Am I above average at getting to that item? Am I below average at getting to that item?
They had that built in with the International. You could list your favorite hero in your compendium, and that would have something that would track the average gold and everything.
I had Skywrath.
It was actually, psychologically, it hurt me because I was so low for so long.
There's Phage calling in. Phage, can you hear us?
I can. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. Welcome to the show, Brian Peddie, better known online as Phage. His Twitter is @thatphageguy. He's associated with High Ground TV and the stat house Standard Deviants. Welcome to the show. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Always happy to help the community however I can, and you guys have a nice production there, so.
Thank you very much.
That's all due to Roland, honestly.
Yeah, I was a musician in a past life, so. Phage, we're so happy to have you on. Finally, somebody that may share my love in math. Do you love math, Phage?
Not as much as most people think I do.
Okay.
But quiet.
Yes.
Don't let on.
It's a beautiful mind.
I was pretty awful at math all through undergrad. I work in science, so I'm sort of required to know statistics for that. But it was never really my thing until what actually happened, how I got into this. In April, I was having a really frustrating day in lab. And when you're working in a lab, you've got these big extended spreadsheets where you're looking at all of your data and trying to demonstrate. And So I was fed up with getting nothing from my numbers in lab, and I went in and looked at a team of mine a team that plays in the Amateur Dota 2 League, or did at the time, called America's Finest Dota Players. And I really loved watching these guys play. And so I took some of their numbers for individual players and threw them in to see if I could find, differences in, standard deviations of GPM and XPM for supports versus carries. And some interesting things came out. And so that was sort of the start of all this. It was not that I've always loved math. It's that I had a really crappy day in lab and was just like, screw this. I want to get numbers that make sense. I'm using Dota, damn it.
Yeah, numbers that mean something. I mean, I've taken labs where we're compiling all this data, and it's like, it doesn't mean anything. It's like, oh, wow, we found a 2% difference between column 647 and column 525. How interesting. And it's like, not really. Also,
right.
I want to commend you on your picture on Twitter, the lowercase sigma, or the correct way for notating standard deviants. Or not standard deviation, excuse me. Standard deviance is your house. So is it actually a stat house? Do people live in this house with you, or is that just the name for this? I guess I'm the most gullible one here.
That's just kind of what people have started calling it. It's really just, when I was working with AD2L, I started doing these pop-ups, and I started working with a few of the different casters, but sometimes they were casting at the same time, and I couldn't be in two games at once. And so eventually, just randomly, I recruited one or two people from Twitch chat. So I don't know if you know the Fridge Master or Jumba John or LDJ.
The Fridge Master has it out for us right now.
And it has it out for you, too, Phage. You won the worst way to die in Dota 2 last week, or Monday?
Yeah,
today's
Monday. Or today, wow.
Well,
okay.
today for
today
us.
for us.
What day is it?
Yeah.
Yes, so we are familiar with this Fridge Master. We narrow our eyes.
Right.
Is he a friend of yours?
Not in real life.
Oh.
I mean, literally just a guy that I found on Twitch chat who we were talking about stats. And it was like, hey, you want to learn how to run stats? Like, yeah, sure, why not? So picked him up, picked a few of the other guys up, and, sort of taught them what I'd figured out. And, most of what I learned, initially I was just kind of poking around on my own, but I got really lucky. I was, just on a whim, I tweeted at Nahaz, who, if you're not familiar with him, Nahaz is one of the original stats guys in Dota. He goes way back. He statted at TI and all that. And he also happens to be both a really nice guy and fantastic mentor. Oh. So he really helped me get off the ground learning a lot more of this stuff. And has actually stuck around. He's serving as a mentor for the Standard Deviants as well.
Oh, wow.
Very cool.
And so it's been really great having him around, especially since he's actually a professor, so he's really good at teaching.
He's a professor of what? Of what?
Finance.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
That's really cool. Okay. Yeah, we were just talking about the Dota economy, so maybe he would know a little bit more about how that works. I mean, he's not an economist,
sure
but
he would have some interesting insights.
Yes, he would.
The other person to talk to about that is actually Feeder Noob. She was just on Toffee's morning show the other day. I think last Friday.
Yeah, we saw it with Gorgon the Wonder Cow.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But she's an unboxer, and she knows a ton about the Dota economy and sort of what trends happen in there in terms of various things being worth different amounts. And I don't really know much about it myself. I know there were boxes and there were some keys. And apparently they're getting rid of a key type, and it's a big deal, but I don't know.
I think it's the brown key. I saw a video of Feeder Noobs online. I think it was a recent one on YouTube, where she's opening random boxes, and she was able to convert her brown keys into new boxes, and boxes are usually X amount of dollars. And she opened them just for people to get to see that, like, she had like 15 boxes she was opening, like that's like $40, $60.
Dangerous.
And it was cool to see her open the boxes. And that's all she did on this YouTube episode was open boxes and like, look guys, I got this really cool thing you don't have. And you're just like, oh wow, cool.
Do you sit in the games and pop the stats up on the side and all that? What do you find yourself running the most stats-wise these days?
So I'm actually not running stats currently. I've got some pretty serious wrist issues going on. So it's really difficult for me to actually type the stats out. Most of the typing that I do is actually through voice recognition. And voice recognition has issues with Dota stats. When I say things like Lincoln Sphere, it spells it out Lincoln Sphere as if it were the sphere of the former U.S. president. So I'm still working on getting around some of that stuff. But recently I've mostly just been teaching people who are interested how to learn to do the pop-ups. And that's something that's more complex than it sounds, because it's not just, go to Dota here, here's the website, here's how it works, here's where you find things, pop them up whenever it seems interesting. There's a lot more context that goes into it than that.
And how making it look natural and fluid in the cast with everyone seems very difficult. Just from us, we participated in the cast not too long ago. It seemed hard to integrate it well without taking control away from the casters in a way, taking attention away.
Sure. And we were lucky enough...
lot of that...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, no. Go ahead. Yeah. Finish your thought first.
Well, I was just going to say it was cool to see stats with a personality. Because that's kind of what you guys are doing, right? I mean, there's a personality behind the sentence you write that may include stats. And we were lucky enough. I can't remember.
It was the Ursa stat. LDJ. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We were discussing the earliest level that Ursa could handle Rosh, and he popped up with level 3 Ursa can take on Rosh solo, and then his follow up response was, "I've personally done it."
Yeah, he was great all cast.
And it's cool to see the personality behind the fact or the stat or whatever it may be.
Right, and some of that is sort of the entertainment value of what we do, because at the end of the day, we're not just in there as numbers. We're a part of a presentation. And so a big part of doing that right is not just getting used to specific casters and how to make sure that the stats that you're popping up will fit with their flow, but also developing yourself as a personality. And so for me, my big thing is the taser alerts. And so whenever anyone buys a Dagon, I put up a little pop-up that says taser alert with who bought it and the number, the level of the item.
That's a great idea.
And the other thing, I also go in whenever anyone buys an E-Blade. Whenever there's an engagement where they nuke someone, I will go in and count the amount of damage they did and put up a little stat that says, this hero did this amount of damage in this many seconds. So the casters really enjoy that, because then they can talk about how absurd it is.
Well, that level of intuition must be hard to capture. I mean, how do you teach that level of intuition?
Things like that. That's me. That's my quirk. There are basic things that everyone learns, like how do you look up, how many times this item has been purchased on this hero in Pro Dota play. If a team is leading by this amount at this time, what percentage of the time have they won in the past? Things like that are going to be interesting to the audience. But then the quirks, I kind of encourage the guys to develop them on their own. Because things like, is it statistically significant that just that a Dagon was purchased, not that it was purchased super fast or anything like that? No, not really. It's just kind of funny.
Sure,
it's cute.
The personality behind the stat.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other concepts that are essential that everyone learns, not just in terms of looking up the statistics, but you'll notice that when I was talking about the winning with a certain amount of gold at a certain time, I mentioned it as something that teams have done. And so it's really important that for stats like that, you learn to separate historical data from an actual win expectancy, right? So you can't use a historical number to necessarily predict the future. Yeah. Now, if you're talking about science, statistics and science are all about creating a controlled environment, right? Where you're testing one variable. And so if you modify the environment and that variable changes, it's because of the modification to the environment. And that's where things like statistical significance come into play. But when you're talking about Dota, we're talking about different heroes played by different people with different item builds, on different servers with different amounts of lag in a different patch, et cetera, et cetera. It's impossible to control for the situation.
Right.
And so you can't use the historical data to predict a future event. But what you can do is put up something that is historically interesting, or that still has some amount of trend to it, even if it's not something that you can run a t-test on.
Right.
And what do you
so
mean by
really,
t-test?
A t-test is it's a statistical test for significance.
Perfect. I just wanted you to elaborate.
So you can't treat it like scientific data is the main thing. It's a history book. You know, it's saying this is what's happened. It's not saying this is what's going to happen in the future. But from what we've seen so far, these things have occurred. Now,
you can get correlational data, basically, not causational.
Exactly. And that's one of the toughest things to teach is causation not equaling correlation. And that applies both, you know, overall and also with individual item builds where people want to say, oh, look, you know, Rubik got the Blink Dagger so fast, you know, teams always win when that happens. Well, yeah, he'll win a lot of times if he gets a fast Blink Dagger, but it may not be because he's getting the fast Blink Dagger. It could be because his team is stomping so hard that he can afford to get a 15-minute Blink Dagger.
Yeah,
sure.
Which, in that case, it's not the Blink Dagger, it's the team stomping, right?
Sometimes you're the product of the environment around you, and the fact that you can do something so quick is a product of you having the space to have that happen in that environment.
Right. And so you can try and, you know, qualify things a bit more to make them more specific. So, you know, this item build at this time with all of these heroes on the team, right? Or against this specific set of heroes. Or even things as simple as in this patch. But every time you do that, your sample size is getting smaller. And so while you are getting, you know, slightly closer to something that could be considered significant, and that context is important, and, you know, I encourage all my stat people to make sure they're at least mentioning whether it's pro or competitive play and what patch they're getting data from, or if it's all time, whenever they're putting up a stat. But sometimes you just run into something where it's a really unique situation and your sample size is tiny. And so, you know, you've got a Huskar building a heart between 20 and 25 minutes, and he's got an 100% win rate on it, but it's happened in 2 other games ever. I mean, something like that, it's still interesting, right? This has happened before, and here's what happened. But it's important for the people who are reading it to understand that it hasn't happened very often.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. You don't want to, you know, talk, hey, they're going to win. It's 100% win rate with that thing.
And you can almost make it, like, funny at that point, couldn't you? Like, based on our 2 results, Huskar is going to win this game.
Are you sure it wasn't just Huskar 100% win rate?
Yeah, no, I have so much fun with that with Dagon stats, where especially we'll run like the 82L in-houses, and I'll look up like the win rate for Dagon on Centaur. I'm just making this up. I don't know what it actually is. But there are a few heroes out there that have bought a Dagon like twice in pro play, and it's an 100% win rate. And so it's just like, hey guys, just so you know, Centaur with Dagon, 100% pro play win rate. I guess that's what you should build, right?
Without giving them the sample size, they're like, oh, really? Wow, that's incredible.
You might be giving Roland some very, very terrible ideas. No boots, Dagon. 3 Dagon, 5 Dagon.
What do you think the win rate is with Nature's Prophet with no boots?
About 12%.
Well, so what does it want to know? Nature's Prophet with what?
With no boots.
No boots at all.
Oh, I'm not sure. So if you go into item builds, you can see what percentage of the time he's building whatever boots, but I'm not. And you could look at how many times he's built boots. Yeah, you could actually figure that out for pro play.
But you sounded bewildered when you heard that. You sounded like, well, I've never seen anything like that, but maybe. They're making fun of me.
It's not exactly the most common build.
They're making fun of me. It's not. It isn't common. What about this? Dagon first, as in your first 650 gold goes toward a null talisman, and then the next thing you build is the other components for the Dagon on a Nature's Prophet. Does that happen often?
So
I think that's a taser alert.
It is. Taser alert.
a Dagon first item on Nature's Prophet. Now, it's important to note that when you're using Dat Dota, the page that filters for major items, it only records items that cost 1,700 gold or more.
Okay.
So I can tell you that overall, Nature's Prophet has played 19 games where he bought a Dagon first, and let's see, he's lost 7 of them. So he's 12 and 7 in pro play, where he's building a Dagon as a first major item.
Okay.
But
Pretty good.
He may have gotten boots in there, something of that nature, items that are too small to be recorded.
Sure.
I'd like to guess that those 7
that...
losses are without boots.
Or maybe some with boots.
Probably. It definitely don't, he has a much higher win rate when you're finishing before 15 minutes. So if you can finish the Dagon before 15 minutes, historically he's done a lot better.
It's awesome that you're able to associate things with time, and that's what is great about Dota. Or stats
all
with time,
of the credit for all the credit for this data really needs to go to Martin DeCowd and Dat Dota, because they're the guys that make all this available to us. Like, I mean, for me, I basically just stumbled on an awesome tool and didn't shoot myself in the foot too many times when I was learning how to use it. But the fact that all of this is available is really all Martin. And it's an amazing resource for the community. Really can't thank him enough for it. If you guys have never checked it out, you should definitely look at it.
We have. We're a little too low to be using Dat Dota right now. Unless they have like an MMR for like 2,000 and below, we're probably not going to be able to use it for a little while.
We have checked it out. We thumbed through it, so to speak. We did. And it's kind of above our skill level right now, we've decided, but we will come back to it.
Anyone who has played on a ticket has a page on Dat Dota. They record everything. And so even, Jordan and Seth, the 2 admins for AD2L, they have pages on Dat Dota. And I really enjoy when they play in in-houses going in there and looking up, oh, guess what? You're playing a hero that you've tried 3 times in competitive play and never won on, and posting that stat for everyone in the match to see just so we can flame our admins.
That's a great time.
Yeah, that is.
Wazoo and I actually got to catch a little bit of the in-house game the last time we got the tail end of it.
Yeah.
And
was Jordan playing?
You guys?
I believe so.
I don't know.
Yeah, they were playing for a while.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
I don't remember.
Definitely, if you get a chance, hop in some of those games. They're a lot of fun. The main rule for those in-houses is that if you're drafting seriously, you're doing it wrong. A lot of the times it's players who have been playing really competitive matches, in Dota Legends and stuff like that all week, along with some of their random friends and other people who are associated with AD2L, including the casters and the admins, and everyone's just kind of done for the week. And so nobody wants to play ranked MMR, right? Or solo ranked. They're done. They don't want to do anything that's super competitive, but they're innately competitive people. And so we get them in and we draft things that are clearly a little bit on the absurd side, if not completely, beyond anything that should ever be considered seriously. And just say, okay, have fun. Like, oh,
that sounds like right up our alley.
Yes, it does. All very competitive, but don't like to play ranked too much.
Yet, we keep doing it.
Yeah, we do.
Is there anything you want to plug for us while we've got you on the show, Phage?
I would definitely like to mention, we already covered it a little bit, but the Standard Deviants, group of stats people that you have a chance to come and learn regardless of who you are or what your background in math is.
Oh, wow.
Follow us on Twitter at STDEV Stats, and if you're interested in learning, hit us up there. I should also mention, I am working with High Ground. Once my wrists get better, I'll be doing some in-game stuff for them. But I'm also working with Gorgon directly on the editorial side of things. And I think he, Nahaz, and I are going to sit down and have a chat at some point soon about Midas stats and sort of statistically what we can learn about using Midas and how it's been used and how it's been used successfully, and see if we can derive anything about when you should or shouldn't buy a Midas on different heroes.
Sure.
So keep an eye out for that. I think that's everything I'm supposed to plug. Thank you guys so much for having me.
I have one last question for you, and it's about Hand of Midas. It just popped up. So Hand of Midas, how many times? You have to use it roughly 12 times in order for it to pay for itself, in order to make a net profit? Do you know?
So here's the problem with that assumption.
Oh, okay.
So if you're just looking at how many total times you have to use it in order to get gold from the item, in order to pay for the cost of the item, I believe it's 12 times.
Okay.
But every time you're using the item on a creep, you're losing the potential gold from last hitting that creep.
Okay.
So
That's
especially
interesting.
at the pro level, you assume that most of the time those last hits are going to land, and suddenly it jumps up to, I think, 14 or 15 times at least.
Because of efficiency.
Before the item.
Because the
Right,
efficiency
and that's
goes
just
down.
assuming
It's like implied odds.
it's an opportunity cost. Every time you're using the item, you're losing the chance to get that last hit, which would normally be a lesser amount of gold a different way. And so when you're looking at pro players who are using Midas, you generally, to get something that's closer to the actual amount of benefit they get from it, you have to subtract that amount of gold from the use of the Midas gold, if that makes sense. So 190 minus, I believe it's 42, is the average amount of gold you get from a creep.
Oh, wow.
Just a melee lane creep. And then there are some other interesting things that you can look at with that too. Not just in terms of the gold that you get, but you hear a lot of people who say, oh yeah, it takes that long to get the gold, but what's important is the experience you get from the item.
Which also needs to be factored in, definitely.
Right. And so then you have to consider, okay, so if Midas is really good for heroes that need a lot of experience, when they get the Midas, those heroes should generally do a little bit better, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at someone like Invoker, who's arguably the most experience-dependent hero in the game,
Sure.
last time I checked, his win rate with Midas, I think, was 48% in 6.81, and his
Wow.
overall win rate was 47%.
And by 6.81, you mean the current patch we're on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and specifically in professional play.
Oh, okay. So maybe not worth it to get Midas on Invoker.
Exactly, or at the very least, know the situations where you can afford to get it. I mean, all items at the end of the day are situational choices. And
Sure.
so if you're buying an item, you need to make sure that it's either plugging a hole in your lineup or it's providing you with a new approach to the game that will give you an advantage. And so if you're buying it and you're learning to really maximize the benefit from it, then yeah, it's a great item. But the opportunities to do that with a Midas are relatively limited.
That is fascinating. Brian, it's been such a pleasure to have you on our show.
Yeah, we're gonna have you back sometime, and we'll have some more. We'll have specific stats questions next
Yes,
time.
we
Now that
will.
we've
Now that we've
kind
had
of
the
introduced
introductory,
ourselves.
introductory cast.
Incorporating
Cast.
worst way to die with statistics.
Oh,
Look at that.
yeah,
How
boy.
often does that happen?
That'd be
That's
fun.
something.
Thanks a
that-
lot for coming on, Brian.
Hey, thank you so much, Brian, and we'll get you your swag for winning the last worst way to die.
Okay.
It truly
Okay.
was a terrible way to die.
It was
by
a
the way.
terrible way to die. Hey, thanks so
That was
much.
awful.
Have a good one, man.
You guys do. Take care.
Yeah, that's interesting stuff to think about. Just that with the Hand of Midas, yeah, you don't really think that many layers deep. It feels like.
If I could just pull out one quote from that, it'd be that items are situational choices. We don't
Yes.
think of items like that.
Absolutely.
We think about it as something that is good for me. Buying a Blink Dagger is good for me, but we don't think about what the Blink Dagger provides for you to do for your team in terms of being a more mobile Crystal Maiden. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean, you think about it that way, but not everyone does when they get a Blink Dagger or something. You know what I mean?
sure.
Sure. And
It's
I'd like
just
to
about
bring
Roland.
something up.
All right.
Okay. Yep.
All right,
I would. Thank
defend
you.
your Dota dissertation.
Yes, it is
Fine.
time for you to
Roland.
sit there and defend
Okay.
your Dota
All right.
dissertation.
All right.
I want to
I-
just do a little precursor
Whoa,
to
what is
him
this?
defending the
Mario?
Dota
Is this an
dissertation.
episode of
No,
Mario
I
we're
want to
on?
do the precursor.
He's still.
Okay.
He's still.
You are the father.
He
I-
still disagrees with
I
me.
want to do this. Okay,
Okay.
earlier I say, and we talked about this on the last episode.
We
I
did.
say
We
to
brief-
Cyphus,
I didn't really get to it, I
I'm,
guess.
I'm just sitting by him as he's playing his game right before this podcast,
Which was a stellar
which
game.
which was a stellar game, which is the best game to use. And I say, he says, what item should I get next? And he already has a Blink Dagger. And I say, why not Force Staff? And he says, I have a Blink Dagger. And I said, really, I think Force Staff might be better for Crystal Maiden.
Sure.
Health regen, another escape on top of Blink Dagger. if you've
Hotly
already
debated
bought it.
topic online.
Sure,
Sure.
all of this, and you said,
You're wrong.
nope, you're wrong.
Oh, yeah, you're
Yeah, and
wrong.
you just said I was wrong again.
Oh yeah, you're wrong.
Isn't this a situational game? I think if
No,
we would have
okay.
asked Brian that
Okay.
question, he would have said, I
we
don't
should
know.
we should have asked him,
should
and
have.
we're gonna have him back, and we are gonna ask those questions because we'll.
you can't just call me wrong.
Oh,
I bet
will
Crystal
that.
has a better
Oh, I
win
will.
rate with Blink Dagger than she does Force
We should have
Staff.
asked.
I'll bet so too. And
should
here's
have
all right.
Defend
First, I'm defending right now. Here we go.
Okay.
All right.
go
First
ahead.
and foremost, the argument, as I see it, from those who have argued with me for the Force Staff,
So you've read articles on this.
I've read it and I've had
You've
lively
read scholarly
discussions.
research.
Come on, Scholar, we just had a discussion about how
Yeah.
there's no causational data in Dota. So also with 3-Flow and Wazoo, we had a lengthy discussion because 3-Flow and Wazoo both felt strongly I should grab a 4-staff as well. For a long time, that's what I was grabbing.
And then friendly Cyphus convinced them.
Oh no,
another
I was
way, huh?
in rare form. I battled it out. I argued my point.
Well, let's hear that battle on
All right.
the show.
The arguments for the 4-staff are as follows: plus the positive
int-based
bonus
weapon.
is nice to have. She's an int-based hero.
Sure.
It increases your right-click damage. It increases your mana regen.
All
it
that
increases
stuff
your
the
mana
int does for an int-based hero.
Yep.
Yum yum.
HP regen. She's a squishy hero. She gets hit. It's nice to run away. That's great. Hey, double tap that item slot, and I'm launching myself forward, and I've got an escape item.
Or an enemy or an ally.
Or an
hero.
enemy or an
right,
ally.
right.
Sure,
Or a
sure.
creep.
Those are all nice things to have. But here's my argument.
Finally.
For the mana and the int bonus, pointless. I'm not a right clicker.
She's got the regen.
I've
You
got
already
the
have the
regen.
regen.
It's doubled on myself. I get enough just from the other intelligence items I build along the way.
She doesn't need a Bascrillus or anything.
A Basilius. Everybody has a Basilius. A
No,
Basalis,
no,
a
dude. Like
Basuus.
every time I get it unlike, and I'm like, my motherfucking Bascrillus.
So I don't need the imp bonus. That it's or at least it's negligible. I get that it is a good thing to have, but it's not enough of a selling point. And it may be the closest thing to a selling point that item has, in my opinion. HP regen, if you're not building Tranquil Boots with her, you're screwing up probably, in my opinion.
No, phase boots.
Here's my
Sure,
issue, and
maybe phase.
and you
maybe
brought
phase.
this up last time. Here's my issue
I gotta
with
get
this.
through all of them.
I want to bring up a
Okay.
side point.
All
Okay,
right.
sidebar. You brought up the fact that I shouldn't be getting hit. I have Tranquil Boots. I
Right.
shouldn't have to right click. I'm not getting hit. Situational, bruh. Okay, situational. You're gonna get hit probably in a fight.
At some point I'm going to.
And guess
sure.
what happens? What happens
Well,
to
what
Tranquil
happens
Boots when you get hit?
I blink the hell away and then I'm okay again.
Oh, when you get hit, you can just blink right away.
Sure, yeah.
After
If
3
you haven't used it,
If
you haven't
after
used
3
it.
seconds, if you've been hit.
I agree with him though. I think it makes the ult a lot scarier. I think it makes Roche Pit something that you think like
You can
3
force
times
staff
about
in.
taking.
You can force staff into Roche Pit.
Okay.
No,
all right,
I know.
You gotta
What I'm
let me get
talking
to it.
about,
And you
what
said
I'm talking
trees,
about
and
is
I
can see
blinking
that you
onto
did
that.
it.
Say that you're Radiant or Dire, and you're against a Crystal Maiden. That crystal can blink onto that ridge and just.
So is this
all
Wazoo
over it.
and Cyphus defending a Dota dissertation?
He now agrees with me after
I like the
disagreeing.
Blink
So you're
Dagger.
going to defend it too?
Yeah.
Let's
sure.
let him finish.
The other benefit, yes, is the trees. That 4-staff knocks over trees in some situations.
Should we worry
And-
about that on our level
yes,
of play?
yeah, we should. I should because I'm too squishy. I mean,
You're
okay,
worried about people finding
my
you,
counter argument
tracking you,
is my
right?
counter argument is I believe that I don't belong at this level of play. Right? If I
guess
don't,
so.
then I need to be thinking about it. Yes.
Damn
guess so.
trench.
So-
stuck in that trench.
I'm going to blink into a position where I'm much safer, where the enemy has to work a lot harder to access me, and especially knowing that it's just stun based, that takes me out of it. Why would I not just get myself as far away from them, but just on the edge?
I think it's left clicks that take you out of it.
Yeah, it is left click.
If you just select the hero, that takes her out of the ult.
Yeah. Anyway, so but the 4-staff knocking down the trees gives my enemies a path to get to me, and I get that, and I have on occasion. I mean, once or twice I've saved you as Void even with my 4-staff with Skywrath when we did that combo. I've 4-staffed you away, Wazoo.
Right after I cast a chrono, he force-staffed me out. I'm like,
Yeah, right
You're
out
like-
of it.
he's
Oh
like-
no, you saw
he's
my
like-
beautiful move
It
earlier.
was like, don't
I
get
did.
caught in that purple bubble, buddy. And I was like, thanks, dude.
We were facing I was facing a Void in my last game, and he threw down a chrono and then went to run inside it, and I froze him just before the outside of it and watched that chrono get wasted.
Yeah, like 3 seconds of it was wasted, which is a good majority of the
It
Chronosphere.
saved that dude.
Curses. He just like falls back.
He just looked like he was ready to run into action. And,
Yeah, it was
a good moment.
cool. It was
a good
cool.
moment.
Anyway, I'd at least
don't.
throw my mace at the person for some damage.
I don't think I'm in a situation often enough with 4-staff where me moving at least, and this is me using your argument at our level of play. I don't think I'm in that situation frequently enough where 4-staff get you out of it. So I'd rather
Well,
have the Blink
4-staff
Dagger.
can be really good.
Okay.
So just because like it's more applicable is what I can understand you're saying, and it gives you better things.
It's a supportive
for us.
item.
It's a supportive
Blink
item.
is a very personal.
It's an offensive item, while Force Staff can be a defensive item.
It's an initiator.
Force Staff forcing me to be facing the right way to go where I want to go is another issue.
Oh, and you should be in a higher MMR, and you're having trouble facing the right way.
I'm just saying, sometimes that critical few seconds of turning around time means the difference between life or death.
Sometimes I can't turn around. I should be
I am fine at
6K
turning around.
MMR.
Oh, are you? Okay.
I can handle that quite well.
So, I want to see an article written on our website, defenseofthepatients.com,
Okay.
by Cyphus,
I will try to
defending
do
his
it
Dota dissertation.
before this episode's released.
And I'm going to advertise the hell out of people. Please leave a comment. Please leave your thoughts. I'm going to get stats. I'm going to get everything on my side.
I thank you all for agreeing with me in advance.
Boys.
What?
Boys.
You can't just say bye.
I know. We're not arguing Blink Dagger against the Force Staff here.
Well, that is the Dota dissertation.
Yeah, that is.
I
his
think you
Dota
can pick up
dissertation.
both, actually.
I think not getting boots on Nature's Prophet is less dumb than not getting a Force Staff on
well,
Crystal Maiden.
oh my God.
I just said it.
Wow.
I said it.
Boys.
Now, you can try to deflect all this boots rage, elsewhere, but it's
It doesn't
not
hurt
gonna
my
happen.
feelings. I don't care. Bring it up. It doesn't.
Someone's just as stupid as
Doesn't hurt
me,
my feelings.
almost. No, they're not. They're
No,
still
the Blink
dumbest
Dagger's
on the
way
block,
better.
bub.
And I don't think getting both the Force Staff and the Blink Dagger is a good
No, but
idea.
you're like, what do I spend my money on? Because you were doing extremely well. You're on
well,
a dominating
that-
streak.
We were beating him like 50
Oh,
to 10
it was-
at that point.
it was
I could
rough.
take Void. If I ran into Void in the jungle by myself, I was guaranteed
Just
getting a
about
kill.
anybody and I saw him blink in, and it was cool. Blink in, ult, and get like dominating double kill, and it was just like, holy shit, he's kicking ass.
They finally matched
Good
you up with
focus.
some 0765ers.
Yeah, he probably was playing against people around the 0 MMR point, but
Sure.
500 to 1K.
No, I'll tell you what, and this kind of gets back to our last game, or our last podcast. I'll tell you what was very different about that round, why I knew it was going to be good before it even began. The first thing anybody said in the ally chat in that game was, so are we just going to fight the entire time, or are we all going to try to get along? And myself and 3 of the gentlemen said, I'm down to get along. And the first thing I said was, I'm down to support. And before I knew it, we were picking like actual lanes. We were contemplating the team comp. We had one guy who didn't speak English who insisted that he go mid with Sven, which it was weird.
was it
Sven's
Wisp?
not a
It
good-
wasn't Wisp that was going mid with Sven, was it? You didn't have Wisp.
No,
oh no, I watched
We
this
had
game, no.
Phantom
Sven's
Assassin,
not a good mid.
Crystal with me in safe lane.
Crystal Maiden is better mid.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, but
I've
and
seen
then
Crystal's mid.
that tide was
What
top.
can Sven do, really?
Sven has, I don't
One
know,
stun
hit
for the
multiple
first 20
creeps.
minutes of the game?
Hey, we're playing noob Dota, okay? Like, there's no
there
reason
was
for
no
us-
communication with this guy. Like, he was making that announcement and then was sure to tell us he doesn't speak English, and that was it. And honestly, like, it was better us going, okay, you take that Sven mid, even though like even I disagree with that, and then just try to build the lanes around him, than to argue. I mean, I'm not going to argue with a guy who
You don't
I can't
argue.
really
You don't
speak
argue
with.
as fan.
Yeah, you don't argue with Sven.
So, interesting tidbit that I learned.
Can I side story real
Sure,
fast?
go ahead. Go ahead.
One
Wazoo.
time I was playing with a Latin American, and I played Sven, and he followed me around for 50 minutes as Bloodseeker, just going, Sven. Single thing I do, like if I'd fuck up and feed, he'd go, Sven, why, Sven? So I just thought I'd share that with you.
So, interesting tidbit I learned
Okay.
recently. Remember that game that we were all playing and Ember Spirit was kicking ass?
He's a good hero.
And
I
he
wanna learn how to
he
play
was
that
our
guy.
opponent in this game, Ember Spirit, and he had like 4 Battle
Great
Furies
mid,
or
yeah.
something like that.
It's because of the mana regen.
No. It's because that cleave damage stacks such that your cleave can do more damage than your physical damage, than your first
Oh,
hit.
cool.
So if there are creeps stacked up or heroes even near, you don't want to hit them. You want to hit the creep near them, hoping that your 4 Battle Furies stack hits them and does more damage than you could even do initially. And so that's when I saw that Ember Spirit was like, what a noob, he has 4 Battle Furies.
The Battle Fury's better too because mana regen too.
And yeah, a lot of things
Because that's
stack
really
on it.
important for Sunder or whatever that's called.
But I didn't think the cleave would stack. So with Sven, and I've seen Battle Furies on Sven, and it makes no sense.
Not
Yes,
worth it.
It
in my
apparently
opinion.
is. If you're killing it,
Dude, like his
it's
ult
worth it.
will shove him up to like if you're
What
built
is
right
Fenzel?
with like a Daedalus, it's called God Strength.
What does it do?
Increases his attack speed and damage a ton.
Oh, is that when he goes?
Yeah, it turns red and he's
Oh, okay, I got you.
and like that's his like and like ideally towards the end of the game you have a Daedalus as well as a Black King Bar, and you'll just pop that BKB blink in and just
Shrink.
you don't need a Battle Fury. There's better things you can buy.
Well, with Ember Spirit, apparently it's important to get a Battle Fury. Please leave comments and let us know
Yeah,
why.
let us know. Anything
Let us
we
know
ever
why.
discuss on the show, we'd love to
Man,
be
I'll get some
corrected
games
on.
in.
Am I
I'm
wrong
gonna
or
learn
am
how
I
to
right
play
about
some.
stacking the Battle Fury? You let me know, please. I am at .p_Roland on Twitter.
Oh yeah, we could throw those out. I'm at .p_Cyphus.
I'm at .p_Wazoo.
Yeah, and you can always hit us up. This is probably just as good a place as any to wrap up. We forgot to play Guess a Hard Counter, though.
Next time we will guess
Next
a
time
hard
we will.
counter. It would be tell us what you want to see us guess a
I
hard
think
counter
Lycan would be a good one for
Yeah,
next
we,
time.
by the
Haven't
way...
we already guessed a hard counter for Lycan?
Have we?
Maybe.
I think so.
Oh, yeah,
I think so.
We did.
Or we
did.
discussed the possibility of doing so. I think
can't
on another
remember.
show.
Well, we'll check it out and we'll come back
Yeah.
next time and see.
So if you want to hit us up, you can always find us on defenseofthepatients.com, at our Twitter account, .p_show. You can find our guest, Brian Peddie, better known as Phage, at that Phage guy on Twitter. His stats house is Standard Deviants.
It's
Not a house,
It's
technically,
at
Dennis. It's a net.
STDDEV for
It's a network.
his
Stats
the
network.
stat house.
Stats Network. Yeah, I
It
think
is a
they're
stat
calling them Stats
network,
House.
but the stat house sounds better.
It
Like
does.
I
It
imagine
sounds
it like
cool.
8 stat guys. Like I don't know, this data
takes me
seems
back to,
That's not how I
inconsequential.
imagined it at all.
Takes me back to, like Brooklyn, and it's like, got your stance, yeah? Like,
I
the
thought
guy's
of it
got a
as-
cigar,
House sounds kind of like a firm.
a trilby. He's got
like
a
a,
trilby
like an
on.
accounting firm.
Sure, I imagine it professional is what I was getting
Yeah,
across
yeah.
as stat house.
No, you
I wonder
made it sound like a
if-
frat house.
No, like I don't know this data.
Do you
is
guys, live together just crunching numbers?
Yeah, they
You wanna
just
go
all
live
have
there, dude?
calculators. Like you wouldn't believe the spread on these.
Those are boring breakfasts.
We might let them take you, dude. Guys, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, defenseofthepatients.com, defenseofthepatients@gmail.com, .p_show, and go and find us on iTunes and leave us a really funny positive or a really funny bad review. We'd love to read
And
some.
send us your worst ways to die.
Oh, yes.
we
do
always
need
want
those.
your WWTDs.
What would Todd do?
Not what would Todd do. Worst ways to die. This has been episode 8 of .p.
Yeah.
Thank
and
you all so
thanks
much.
for tuning in. We'll see you guys again on Thursday, or on Monday.
Farewell.
Monday.
Damn trench. I've been stuck in that trench.